Shane Ayershek, I'm the chairperson. Also on the committee, we have Michael Calandrino and John Esposito. We also have Corporation Counsel here, Les Pinter, as well as the Assistant Director of Finance, Dave Garrick, Public Building Superintendent, Rick Quanzo, and we have Mike McLaughlin here from the Office of the Mayor, as well as Colin Bennett and Jack Kozahowski. I did, yeah. Okay, and the charge of tonight's ad hoc is the clean energy proposal. And if we could start maybe with a general overview from Mr. Bennett. You want to start?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Colin Bennett, and I work for the nonprofit organization Clean Water Action. And just to get it on the table, I have no financial incentives for Danbury moving forward with this at all. And neither does the organization I work for. But that's a question that inevitably almost always comes up, so I figured I'd throw that out there. But in any case, thank you very much for everybody coming out. This program is called the 20% by 2010, and the idea is for Connecticut cities and towns to purchase 20% of their municipal electricity usage from clean and renewable sources by the year 2010. It's a challenge created, well, it was more or less mandated by the Connecticut legislature, and it's administered by the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund, which is a quasi-governmental organization funded by Connecticut ratepayers. If you pay an electric bill in Connecticut, part of your electric bill goes to the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund. So this program is administered by the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund. Now the state has already made the commitment to clean energy. The state is committed to 20% of the state's energy. So for all the agencies, the universities, the state capitals, etc., all of them, 20% of that electricity will be coming from clean sources. So the state also wants cities and towns to do that. Well, rather than create an unfunded mandate saying, Danbury, you need to get 20%, they created this program which has incentives for towns and cities to purchase 20%. So if a town passes a resolution committing to 20% by 2010, what happens is that for every 100 residential or business customers in town that also sign up for clean energy through the Connecticut Clean Energy Options Program, you may or may not have seen this. This is a sign-up form that comes out in your electric bill. I think it came out twice last year, and it's coming out at least 3 times this year. I think in this month's bill, next month's bill, and in September. But anyway, so anybody in Connecticut can sign up for clean energy. So for 100 people, that's residences or businesses that sign up, the town will get a free photovoltaic solar array, and the photovoltaic kind that actually produce electricity. So certain towns in the state will get 2 solar panels for every 100 people that sign up. And Danbury's actually in that section of the town. Danbury is in what's considered this congested southwest part of the state. So for every 100 residents that sign up, you're going to be getting 2 solar panels worth $10,000 each, so $20,000 worth of solar panels. And those are the incentives that, well, that's the big incentives that the state is offering. The other incentive was that for the first 40 towns that pass these resolutions are going to get a $5,000 grant to help spur the program. So unfortunately, for Danbury anyway, we're now up to 48 towns and cities that have signed up for this as of tonight, 48 towns. And that includes almost all of Connecticut's largest cities: Hartford, New Haven, New Britain, Torrington, New London, with the exception of Bridgeport has not signed it, and a lot of other small towns, including Ridgefield, Salisbury, and a whole bunch of others. So it's spreading, and it's definitely a very popular program. Most of the time when it comes up for a vote in Board of Selectmen or Town Council, City Council, it gets approved generally unanimously. So, like I said, it's a program to get 20% of municipal electricity by 2010. And the whole idea is when the town passes the resolution is a document of the city. You create it. I mean, I provided draft language, but it's a document of your own creation. So after you pass that resolution, the only thing that you'll be expected to do is sign an MOU with the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund saying that you set this goal of 20%. Now, this MOU is not a contract. It's just an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding. So theoretically, if, let's say, Danbury sets this goal of 20% clean energy by 2010, and then in 2009, some unforeseeable catastrophe happens, and clean energy rates just skyrocket. They go 500%. It's a non-binding MOU. So for some reason, Danbury has to back out. There's no penalties, there's no retribution. It's a good faith effort. But that being said, I'm not trying to say this is an opportunity for a city or a town or for Danbury to greenwash itself, making it look more environmentally friendly. So it's good faith. To pass a resolution, it means you're setting a goal that you're actually going to try to make. But if for some reason you can't make the goal, there's no penalties. So for every 100 people, you get $20,000 worth of solar panels, and that'll be 2 solar panels worth 1 kilowatt each. So 1 kilowatt obviously is not a big system. You're going to need a lot of solar panels in order for these to start producing significant amounts of savings for the city. But there's no limit to how many of these that you can get. So if 200 people sign up, then you'll get 4 solar panels. 300 people sign up, you'll get 600, so on and so forth. And some cities and towns are definitely using this to their advantage. West Hartford is in the lead right now. They have something like 750 signups. That's residential and business signups. So I think they have 12 solar panels. And the reason that is that there's leadership benchmarks. So West Hartford was the first to reach 750. So in addition to the solar panels they got for every 100, they got an additional leadership of like 2, so they're up to near 12 solar panels. So that's basically the program in a nutshell. The city is free to meet this renewable energy commitment in any way it wants, and there's a lot of different options for that. You can buy clean energy through these 2 providers that the residents can sign up for, there's 2 right now in the state. They're called Sterling Planet and Community Energy. And those are renewable energy providers. They are overseen by the DPUC, or Department of Public Utility Control, so they're regulated in Connecticut. But and those are 2. And then there's also other ones that are reputable, that have good reputations for providing this product, but aren't necessarily part of this program. You can choose to do it. And then another one, which is the most costly but the most beneficial, is actually on-site generation. If the city wanted to invest in its own solar panels or put up its own wind turbines or fuel cells, things along those lines, that would help the city meet its goal of 20% by 2010. So obviously not a lot of towns are pursuing that because that requires the most capital costs up front. Solar panels are expensive, but the benefit is once you install the solar panels, there's no cost, so they're just going to be producing electricity, whereas if you're going to be buying it from the grid, you're always going to be paying for it, whereas if you buy solar panels, they're eventually going to have a payback period of between 10 and 20 years, and then all of a sudden you're just going to be saving money rather than spending money. And if Danbury wanted to go that route, the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund is paying for up to half of all renewable energy installations, up to $4 million. So theoretically, Danbury could get an $8 million system, finance it, and only pay for $4 million of that. So, like I said, there's a lot of different options to meet this goal. It's not one different thing that you're locked into. It's a good faith effort. If for some reason you can't make it, then it's a non-binding resolution. And like I said, I don't want to say it's the right thing to do, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. I know obviously a lot of people in Danbury already support clean energy because you already have over 100 people signed up for clean energy. So as soon as you pass this resolution and sign the MOU, you'll automatically be qualified for the $20,000 worth of solar panels. There's no work that you have to do. You already have that. And I know that some students from St. Greg's came and spoke in front of the council not too long ago in favor of clean energy, and they have a Cool It team, so they're concerned about global warming, and they actually presented up at the Capitol not too long ago, and they won an award for their efforts. So it's definitely something that the city can get behind in terms of residents and businesses. And like I said, 48 towns so far, and it's just spreading. Hopefully by the end of June we'll be up near 60. There's a lot of other towns that are considering this, and we'll hopefully pass it very soon. So I'm definitely available to answer any questions. I've been doing this for a while, and so if I can't answer your questions, I can definitely get back to you, but I should be able to get most of them.
Start with the committee members first. Michael,
I have some questions.
go ahead.
Through the chair. Mr. Bennett, how did the number of 20% by 2010, how is that developed?
Well, the thing is that what happened was a few years ago, I don't remember, this is before I get involved, probably 2003, 2004, some students in New Haven, along with some citizen activists, wanted the city to pursue clean energy. So they created this idea, 20% by 2010, and they approached the New Haven City Council, Board of Aldermen, to try to convince them to purchase 20% renewable energy, and they were successful. So So the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund, in cooperation with some Connecticut nonprofit organizations, including mine, Clean Water Action, looked at New Haven as a model and said, New Haven did it, this is a good thing, and we can replicate it across the state. So this is how that program got started. And actually, the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund just won an award from the U.S. EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, because this program is serving as a model for other states that are adopting either the same program or very similar programs. So it just came about for people who wanted clean energy, and they did a good job, and other folks realized it could be replicated.
Are there any towns presently using solar energy from this program?
From this, in terms of the free solar panels, yeah, there's a whole bunch. Well, not a whole bunch, there's a handful. Because if a town gets, let's say Danbury passes this resolution, like I said, you're automatically going to get these 2 solar panels. What the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund, there's a very good chance they're going to ask you to do is say, you're entitled, and if you want them, all you have to do is pick where you want them. You don't have to install them, you don't have to maintain them. You just pick where they want them. Obviously, they have to go on some public property because, the mayor can't say, hey, put them on my house. They would have to go on a high school, for example. A lot of the towns that are getting these are putting them on the high schools or some other schools, because then the teachers can integrate them into their science or other curriculum. So Middletown's a very good example. They got their solar panels over a year ago. And if you go to the Connecticut Clean Energy Community's website, you can go to there's a map of Connecticut, and you click on Middletown, and it'll show you in real time how much energy that solar panels is creating in terms of watts, and it'll also tell you exactly how much money it has saved the city of Middletown. And over the past year, I think it's up to, I can't remember, last time I checked it was about $420 for the year. So that's $420 that the city of Middletown didn't have to pay.
Versus what's their annual budget?
I'm not sure. But Middletown's one example. There's other towns that are definitely getting their solar panels. I know Bethany passed their resolution last fall. They only had about 30 people signed up for clean energy in terms of residents, but after they passed the resolution, they got that $5,000 grant that I mentioned. And so some of that $5,000 grant was given to the Boy Scouts, and the Boy Scouts then used that to go out and get people. They went door to door saying, hey, sign up for clean energy, our town will get free solar panels. And Bethany went from 30 signups to about 130 signups in a matter of weeks, largely due to the help of the Boy Scouts. Unfortunately, like I said, as of now, that grant money is no longer available. So there is talk that they might extend that, but I don't want to go on record.
Is the grant money along with the donation of the solar panels, are they milestone funded? For instance, you get 100 people signing up for the program.
Right.
You get, let's say, 1 solar panel.
Right.
Just for argument's sake.
Right.
If you get 200 people, you get 2 solar panels.
Right.
Well, how does that structure affect grants? Is it milestone as well?
No,
measured by milestones?
I'm pretty sure the idea behind the grant was it was offered to the first 40 municipalities to do this. So the first 40 municipalities, they were taking that leap saying, all right, we're going to go out in this program, and 40 towns is about 25% of the state. So 25% of the state went out and did this, and the $5,000 was given to the cities to get more people to sign up for clean energy, so other towns that were considering this and other cities could realize that it was successful. And it's been successful. Like I said, in Bethany it worked really well, in Fairfield it worked really well. Norfolk is up to it's almost 10% of the town is signed up for clean energy, which is, understandably not very much since they have about, 200 people there. But
Still a big percentage.
yeah, it is a big percentage. But on the other hand, Portland, which is another small town, but it's not nearly as small as Portland. Portland's up to 6% of their town is signed up for clean energy, and that's through this $5,000 grant. What happened was the town of Portland passed a resolution. They created an energy task force, and the energy task force, A, was charged with figuring out how to actually meet these goals, but B, was charged with trying to figure out ways that the town of Portland could save money on their energy costs in general, just by installing the energy efficient light bulbs and things along those lines. So they went and they really did a bang up job. They got 6% so far and counting. And there was one particular individual in Portland, his name Andy Bauer, and he's a middle school teacher there, and he did such a good job that the state is giving him an award this year for his efforts. Although he was working specifically on clean energy, they're giving him an award for work to stop global warming, because if you look at global warming as a problem, then clean energy is a solution. So this program so far has been outstandingly successful. No town has backed out once they pass this resolution.
Chairman, I'm concerned about the solar panels. As we progress here and we increase the amount of solar panels, just what are the problems that other municipalities get? Where do they put these things?
Well, West Hartford, they're the leader, and they put them right on their city hall. And you,
At City Hall?
yep, they sure do. I was actually at the ribbon cutting ceremony. They waited until they had a number of solar panels they saved up, basically.
Number, how many?
I don't know. I think they were up to 4 back then.
4?
4 solar panels, because they what happened was there was an unofficial competition between West Haven and New Haven, West Hartford and New Haven, between Mayor Slivka and Mayor DeStefano, saying, you know, who's going to do better for clean energy. And New Haven was in the lead for a while, but then all of a sudden West Hartford pulled ahead. So they had a ribbon cutting ceremony. They banked their solar panels so they could get a whole bunch all at once, rather than just a couple at a time. So they put it up there, and you know, if you go to the website again, you'll see there's all kinds of quotes and testimonials from, you know, the governor, from different mayors, and first selectmen around the state that say, you know, this is a great program, encouraging other towns and cities to sign on as well.
Is this primarily involved with the solar energy? Is wind and hydro
Yep,
included in some of these programs?
there's something called Class 1 renewable, and that's wind, solar, small hydro, fuel cells, and certain type of biomass, which is, you know, things like ethanol. Not all types, but certain types. So the solar panels are what the incentive that the city will get. But to meet the goal, the city can get its clean energy from any of these Class 1 renewables. So it could be wind, solar. If the city were interested in putting, you know, micro hydroelectric dams, and if you'll indulge me just for a second, I was telling her that I was at the Connecticut Envirothon this morning. Connecticut Envirothon is a competition for high school students, and this year's issue was clean energy. So they all had to present on different forms of clean energy. And I thought I knew a lot about clean energy, but listening to these high school students present for 10 minutes about this, I learned so much. And one of them was micro hydroelectric, which is, you don't actually even need a dam per se. You just divert a small amount of the river to go through a pipe, basically, that spins a turbine without the environmental impact of, you know, fish not being able to go up and spawn. And that's one way, for example. And this Connecticut Clean Energy Fund will help fund any Class 1 renewable projects.
I have one other question through the chair. As an energy consumer, I'm reading this this brochure, and it says that if you participate in this, you remain a TSO customer of CLMP.
Right.
When you sign up for clean energy, you will continue to receive one bill, but you'll get a surcharge for an additional $3.85 to $8 per month.
Right.
Now, I'm paying more money for my electric bill to be part of this.
Right.
What am I getting in return, both in the short term and in the long term?
Well, you're getting in return. Well, there's actually. I'm glad you brought that up, because I never actually talked about the benefits
Yeah, I
of
didn't
clean
quite
energy.
understand it.
Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. And my job is to tell you what you want to hear while still telling the truth. It depends on where your interests lie. We're investing in clean energy, and it depends on, you know, if you're concerned about energy independence. The fact of the matter is we depend on fossil fuels for everything, for our transportation, for our electricity, for everything. But the fact of the matter is fossil fuels are a finite resource. We're eventually going to run out. Oil a lot quicker than coal. So eventually, inevitably, we're going to have to start moving to a renewable energy future. So we can either wait until the price skyrockets, and we're already seeing gas at $3.25, so we can just wait until it goes up and up, and then say, all right, well, now it's $5 a gallon, maybe we should start investing in renewable energy, or we can start having some foresight and doing it now. So if you're worried about our energy security or our energy independence, that's one reason. I do this, I'm in this line of work because I'm concerned really about the global warming or the global climate crisis. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I want to be able to say to her when she's my age, you know, I don't want her to be able to say to me, Dad, why is there all these problems? Why didn't you do something about it? I want to be able to say, you know, I did my best. So that's, if you're concerned about global warming, clean energy is a solution to this. If you're concerned about air pollution, obviously wind turbine solar panels don't contribute to air pollution, whereas fossil fuel combustion does. So there's all these reasons. So yes, you're paying a little bit more, up to 1.1 cent per kilowatt hour more, which is for an average Connecticut household, it's up to $8 more. And an average Connecticut household uses 700 kilowatts per month. And that's average according to the DPUC. So those are just some of the reasons. I mean, there's all kinds of other reasons too.
No. We're all for clean energy,
Right.
and we're all for the environment.
Right.
What I'm saying is, you're gonna take my $8, and what are they going to do with it?
They invest that directly into renewable energy infrastructure. So depending on where you buy it, and like I said, these two companies, so a Connecticut residential consumer is these two companies, Sterling Planet and Connecticut, and Community Energy, excuse me, had to go out to bid, or they submitted proposals to the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund and the DPUC to be these two competing companies. So they're overseen. So they say they're going to invest a certain amount of money, how much you invest as a consumer in clean energy, and then the DPUC makes sure that they're actually investing that money in clean energy. So unfortunately, we don't have the renewable energy capacity in Connecticut that they have in Pennsylvania or South Dakota or Texas. Wind turbines quite literally are going up there as quickly as they can build them because, as like you heard, the wind goes sweeping across the plains. Well, that's quite true. The wind turbines are just spinning all day long producing energy. We don't have that quite the same capacity here in Connecticut. We do have capacity for solar panels, for small hydro, for fuel cells. Connecticut's actually a fuel cell. It's the fuel cell leader of the country, which means it's basically the fuel cell leader of the world. We have companies like UTC, which are basically investing all their energy in clean energy. So these two companies are investing in renewable energy, being overseen by the DPUC.
So eventually, what you're suggesting is there'll be a payback to the residential consumer if they sign up for that?
No, a payback in terms of not directly, because right now, through CLMP or through UI, CLMP and UI are now just the transmission companies. They're no longer, through deregulation, they're no longer producing energy. So they're just buying energy. So right now, the majority of the energy comes from fossil fuels, either coal or oil. And if those run out, then the price is going to go up, obviously, supply and demand. So there will be a benefit in terms of the quicker we start investing in these renewable technologies, then that's a hedge against rising energy prices in the future. If a residential consumer really wanted to have direct benefits and see a return on investment, then they could put solar panels on their own home, and the state's offering rebates to homeowners as well, up to 50%. Although 50% with a cap of $47,500, so a homeowner can essentially get a $100,000 solar panel system and only pay for half. But so yeah, there's definitely the direct return on investment come from on-site generation, and then the more general hedge against rising energy costs come from investing in renewable energy. And so far in Connecticut, we have the 48 towns signed on and about 12,000 residential consumers.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions at this time? Just a quick point of order. When I was doing roll call earlier, I want to also note the fact that we have Mary Teichholz here, ex officio, and we also have members of the public. I think I was reading off the list, and I don't want that to go.
You're redeemed, Shay.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe we can talk to Mr. Kasahowski, and you can, I know you wanted to give a little bit of talk as well on this.
Okay, just a few words. I think Colin did an excellent job of explaining the rationale and the whole program. I worked with the Corporation Council to help draft up this resolution. And 2 points. One is, in the resolution, you'll notice a lot of reference to a commitment to reduce greenhouse gases, GHGs. The guts of the resolution is to authorize, is to commit to the 20% of purchasing renewables for the program. But we've linked reduction of greenhouse gases, because the more we invest in renewable resources, the more we're going to reduce greenhouse gases. So that's a general goal. And the second thing is to put some teeth into this more than just a commitment. The resolution authorizes the mayor to appoint a task force, a cool energy, cool environment task force that will specifically identify how we're going to make this commitment, and not only in terms of purchasing 20% of our energy from renewable sources, but what that translates to in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Moving on down, I'd like to see if Mr. Palazzo has a few words.
Thank you, Chairman Nedersha. You are aware that the city has been one of the leaders in reducing our energy consumption through conservation. And you can see that here in all of our public buildings and in our public schools, to the point where CLMP called us this year and asked us how we got our consumption so low at City Hall, because we exceeded what their expectation was for our reduction in consumption. So we're very pleased with our conservation efforts. This is another, this is a step beyond that to start using clean, renewable sources. And we'll be committed to do that. We have to look at all of the options, and Jack threw another wrinkle in there with trying to reduce greenhouse gases. So you're even challenging us even more. But the city may have to be prepared to spend some additional dollars to do this, because there's a price associated with this. It's not free and it's not cheap. So when you have to understand that. So.
Could you explain a little bit better that when you were talking about spending additional dollars for what they're?
Clean energy costs money, and costs more than our normal sources of energy. And Colin, you can correct me if I'm incorrect.
No, it does. It definitely does. This for Connecticut consumers, it's 1.1 cent per kilowatt, up to 1.1%, 1.1 cent, 1.1 penny per kilowatt hour more, which translates to about $11 a megawatt. So $11 a megawatt is pretty expensive. Although it's not the only option out there. It can. I'll give you one quick example. That Yale University decided through a student initiative, students pushing the administration to purchase clean energy, went out and made a very large renewable energy purchase. And since they were making a large energy purchase, they were able to negotiate the price. And so they got a price of about $2.25 a megawatt. So definitely, if there's and towns are definitely encouraged to make. They can make aggregate purchases with other towns in the area. Ridgefield just committed to this program, so Ridgefield and Danbury could work in conjunction to do this and to lower the cost. And there's actually one other thing that I forgot to mention. This is called the 20% by 2010 program, 20% clean energy. The fact is that in 2010, Connecticut has something called the Renewable Portfolio Standard, and that means anybody selling electricity, namely CLMP or UI, in Connecticut has to be providing a certain percentage of that electricity from clean sources regardless. So even if you don't sign up for clean energy, you're getting a certain percentage. So in 2010, that percentage, as mandated by the Connecticut legislature, will be 7%. So really, the city will only be accountable for 13%. So because you'll already be getting 7% no matter what. So the city will be 13%. The other 7% will automatically be kicked in. So it lessens the burden on the city directly.
This comes at a good time because the city is right now investigating options for purchasing electricity. And we're looking at, generators that can provide us with energy, not only CLMP, but because CLMP doesn't generate anymore, it's just, it just transmits and it aggregates. But we're looking at other generators as a source to buy our energy. So this comes at a good time because we can add it into our specifications that, we want a certain percentage of it to be from a clean, renewable source. And as Colin stated, we should be able to get a good price for it rather than just paying the standard offering from CLMP.
Question, Rick, the solar panels interest me. As we continue along, where would these solar panels be? That's what I'm just envisioning in my mind, say for instance, I live in a cul-de-sac and there'll be 10 houses, at least 10 houses are gonna have solar panels hanging on their roofs or ceilings or whatever?
They could.
Is that the way it's gotta be? It has to be that way?
No, Jack and I were actually talking about if the city of Danbury was going to put its solar panels, where's a good location to put them? We wouldn't be putting them on our high school. We wouldn't be putting them on City Hall. We might be placing them over at the landfill, right on the ground, and connect that energy and then collect the energy. Reason for this being, when you have a lot of equipment on your roof that requires maintenance, you don't want to be stepping around the solar panels. My previous employer was one of the first in Danbury to utilize solar panels, and they weren't direct photovoltaic, they were
Hospital.
hot water. Yeah, I worked for Danbury Hospital when they put the solar panels up on the roof, and solar panel technology has improved 300% since that time. That's what, we were talking about where could we put them where it wouldn't be a problem, where it would have a great impact, where we could orient them exactly as we need to orient them, and the landfill is a good choice.
You say an improvement, Rick, I hope it's a big improvement of what we see at the hospital right at the present time.
John, at that time,
That-
what they did was
Yeah.
they heated hot water, and the hot water went down into an exchanger. Nowadays, the energy is created, it creates electricity
That's right.
directly.
And I could be wrong, but those ones at the hospital, they didn't stop working. They just disconnected them because they no longer had laundry service, right?
Yes.
So there's a very good chance that those ones at the hospital would still be working. They just don't need them anymore. At least that's the way I understand it.
That was generating hot water, it wasn't generating electricity.
Thank you, through the chair, to Rick. Rick, you mentioned that the towns are getting together and in aggregate negotiating better deals collectively, with 2 or 3 towns joining in, using that leverage to negotiate for power. Couldn't the residents be thrown into that mix to further gain economies of scale? I would
We-
think.
We talked to the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, which is offering to do this if we want to get involved with the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities for buying our energy. There's a reluctance to buy electricity for residents. I don't know why. We've asked, and every time we ask, they offer something for the residents, but they don't offer to buy a big block of energy and then sell it to the residents at the price that we buy it for. Right now, they're just doing it for the governments.
Is it logistics? Is it the mechanics? What would prevent that?
Councilman, I don't know the answer. I don't know the
Can we-
answer. They've just pretty much flat out saying, we can offer them education, offer residents education, we can offer the residents, some assistance, but what they're not offering is to pass along the savings to the residents.
Well, the next time you have the meeting, would you ask why? That would be a good question. Thank you.
That's also
After
something, okay, and that's also something maybe that the energy task force could
Take a look at it as well.
look into as well. John, did you have something else?
No, but speaking of finances, we have our finance director with us this evening. I wonder some of his opinions as far as finance is concerned. Where would we begin with something like this?
Well, as Rick mentioned, it is a concern that, utility costs would increase. However, it wouldn't be an overnight switch. It'd be a gradual, increase. You have to plan for that in advance and build that into the budget. However, it's, as you mentioned before, that it's an investment into the future, so that you're not paying $5 a gallon for oil, which I'm not sure what that would translate to into the generation of electric, but I imagine over time that it's going to equal out and actually be cheaper than using oil.
And then, of course, obviously, the added benefit of the cleaner environment, that's the big picture. But, any words from, Ms. McLaughlin from the mayor's office?
Well, I would just like to to remind the committee that Danbury is home to fuel cell energy and electro energy, which are 2 of the worldwide leaders in alternative sources of energy. The gentleman mentioned UTC, which is our biggest competitor. They were actually latecomers to the business. This started in Danbury. So for you to adopt this kind of a program, it fits very well with the economy of Danbury in that we have a number of jobs that are dependent upon alternative forms of energy. And we believe, we meaning the business community and the economic development community of the state in general, that those types of companies, like fuel cell and electro energy, are gonna have a product that is affordable not only for small business, because they currently only sell to big universities and big hospitals and things of that nature, but in the very near future, perhaps just around the corner, small businesses, City Hall, homeowners will be able to afford a single unit that's gonna power their facility. So this fits well with what's happening in Danbury. All over the world, they look to Danbury for leadership in alternative energy. So it'd be kind of neat to see city government do the same.
Any questions at this point? We good? Any words from our corporation counsel this evening?
The only thing I'd like to see, I didn't hear until tonight, is the MOU. I'm not sure what that says. It's binding effect, I guess it's not binding, but, I think we'd like to know what's in that. Because if you adopt the resolution, I understand that the state will be sending
Right.
an MOU to the mayor to sign, which you can do under the authority here, but I wouldn't let him sign anything unless he, has seen it.
Absolutely. I mean, there's an MOU for instance, the city of Stamford was one of the first cities to do this, and so they put their MOU on this website, the Connecticut Clean Energy Communities website, and that's basically the standard language that all the towns and cities have been signing. So I can definitely get you a copy of that, and that's the language that the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund has been using. I can get to that to you tomorrow.
Would that hold up any type of motion this evening?
No.
No. Sure. Second. Okay. Any further questions? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion at this time, that this committee recommend to the Common Council that that the Common Council consider adopting a resolution that would contain the following: a commitment to obtain 20% of the annual municipality electricity demand from clean renewable sources by the year 2010. Authorize the mayor to establish an energy task force. And authorize the mayor through education to encourage Danbury residents and institutions to support clean energy. Is that covered?
You want the authorization to apply for federal and state grants?
And to include the authorization for the mayor to apply for state and federal grants as well.
And to execute any documents related.
And to execute any documents relative to this program.
Cover everything?
I think you got it.
We aced it that time?
I think you did, yeah.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second the motion.
Second.
And just a question on the motion, Mr. Chairman. Les, this doesn't bind us in any way. Actually, this is a recommendation to the council as a whole, is that correct? And the binding will come after the council as a whole.
Yeah,
And a report from this Cool Energy Committee?
Yeah, if the council adopts this resolution, you will be committing to this goal,
Okay.
okay, number one. Number two is you'll be committing to having the mayor, authorizing the mayor to create this task force.
But as far as this three-man committee, we're not committed to any particular,
No,
Okay.
you're recommending
okay,
at this point.
that's what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? No, and all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions and nays, no? Okay. And then being that there's no other business for this particular ad hoc this evening, I take an appropriate motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Calendino. Any discussion? No? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, no nays, motion passes.
I have a quick question. This will go to the Common Council for discussion and a possible